Week 161, we return to normal-ish episodes. For exactly 1 week, anyway. And we're here at Watkins Glen for an interesting Monday edition of the Challenge series, in that, well, even this whole week is a little unorthodox. There is no roulette race this week. Instead, Monday is starting off with the race in the format of a roulette race, but it is something entirely different. Big news going into this week is that, well, now rebranded Urban Estate Racing Team returns as Urban Estate Motorsports, bringing GM factory support back to the Challenge Series. And with it also comes a further extent to Ford and Daimler Chrysler's, basically Dodge, commitment to the series as well. So Logan has thus determined that we may be looking at an American motorsports arms race in the Challenge Series, starting with this very race. Better off introducing all of the new stuff before we even take the green flag here, rather than interrupt the flow of the actual race once it does begin. This race is ordered in reverse performance points, so Damien Kotexa, as the lone 640 class vehicle in this event, starts on the pole. Satoshi Rollins, who I can't see, there we go, is the first of many new cars debuting in this race, although not a new driver, a 675 class 5th gen Corvette, and he is not going to be the only 5th gen Corvette on this track, I can tell you that. Paul Milner, starting right behind him, is the first of several new drivers having been recruited into the series by the newly reformed Urban Estate team. Maya O'Brien also joins the team. You can see the logo on the back fender there and the license plate. Colin Morris, nothing to report there. Ford hasn't brought a whole lot new. I see Jackson Steele representing Mopar Garage, who have done a little recruiting of their own, starting with Samuel Jansen, whose day one spec Charger has seen a slight revamp in appearance. Dylan Mercer makes his first start for Urban Estate. Dick Trivial, usual Mopar Garage suspects, and Whitney Velvet, upstart phenom who just made a solid showing in the Club and Cup for a basically debuting driver. I believe it's Lune Baptiste. It's Lune or Lunette? I do not remember. It has one T, Lunete. It's not like Lynette, where her name has two. So I think it's Lune. Molsant. No, not Molsant. She's not here. Lune Baptiste in the number 93 Corvette for Urban Estate. Carson Hawkins in a very colorful Tide Ride for the new team. The one new recruit for NFR Ford comes in the form of Jacques Arato, who's actually from Puerto Rico. You can see the Puerto Rican flag right next to his window. But he currently lives in the United States. And the final new driver of the race, we have Russell Wagner. Despite the American flag on the door, they are German. And they are the final new representative for Urban Estate. As I understand, these are mostly sports car guys. Slightly, maybe a little stranded by, I know Jacques Aranto is actually completely stranded by the lack of, he's been stranded ever since the Ford GTLM program shut down. Even though the Mustang GT program is running in endurance races now. And then Iris Aspinall is the POV driver of this one. And we are green from what is effectively this Detroit exhibition match, as far as I'm concerned. Ignore the fact that we're in New York, obviously, Watkins Glen. There is no track in Michigan that the Challenge Series ever goes to. I have the volume wrong again. One of these days I'll get it right, I assure you. Irish sprang to the back of Persister, it looked like, but looks like no damage was done. And immediately the GTLM jumps to second in the running order. It's a 750 class car. It should be able to make short enough work of Rollins' 675 car. He's fighting back, but yeah, as I say, I think the second Iris can find the gas pedal, she will be away. Already seen some damage on a handful of cars. Mostly Team Mopar in this one by the looks of it, although we got Wagner with a damaged bumper, Jackson Steele with damage. Looks like all's clear in the back though. We'll start with the leading cars that had damage, and I'm pretty sure it's just a slight tap. It doesn't seem like that should have done that much, but that damages both O'Brien and Snyder. That is a mess. Elsewhere, we saw Jackson Steele had damage. Evelyn Sienna finds the back of the Charger, so a bit of team killing from Mopar, and then Steele gets forced off the track by Cortexa for good measure. You see Isabel overtake her teammate. Nope, Colin Morris does not feel like waiting. Does not feel like letting her go. Doesn't want to lose time. And there we see the plethora of pitting vehicles. Snyder, O'Brien, Wagner, whom the cameras didn't really catch how he got damaged. Sienna, Velvet, Steele. Most of Mopar did not make it through this first lap cleanly. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Dodge machines with damage. Jansen and Trivial, the only ones to survive the culling, so to speak. Isabel's getting a little adventurous over there. That's not the line I'd take. Rebecca Johnson has made rapid progress. Being in 750 class, she started at the back of the field, and she's already into second, behind another Group 3 with Iris's GT up there. A rare race where it seems the Group 3 cars are actually competitive. Probably because Watkins Glen has a lot of high-speed turns that cars like these tend to favor. While also not having too many long straightaways. The backstretch it's long, but it's not punishing in its length like some other tracks the Challenge Series visits, like Fuji or Tokyo East layout, or having forbid Le Mans. They're going to be pretty wide with 3 different classes there. Hawkins is going to make off like a bandit, but as well as he should. He's in the 750 class Camaro. Rene Baptiste, that's a 715 class Corvette, so she is leading that category at the moment. And Isabel is in pursuit, but not before she lets her... Well, that seems like a problem. Johnson, in pursuit of Iris, catches too much of that curb, and it doesn't like it, and Baptiste drives straight into her front bumper, unable to get the car stopped in time to avoid that hazard in the middle of the circuit. So another Mopar Garage driver down with damage. in the chaos while Isabel was trying to let her new teammate Aranto pass. I guess that plan kind of got delayed as the crash ahead prevented cars from really going different lanes. Now the GT is by, and he will attempt to take second in class away from the very sideways Carson Hawkins. Let's see if he can do it cleanly without issue, as Baptiste is about to clear herself from the path, so Isabel will claim the class lead from Mopar Garage's error. That takes the Urban Estate Corvette out of contention. Go figure. A big run for the 57 machine down the inside, and that's, we'd call that textbook. So it is now an NFR 1-2 in the top category, and they're also leading in the 715 category. But no such luck with 675, as Satoshi Rollins and Paul Milner have that on lock up to this point. Colin Morris is kind of their only hope for that at the moment. Harvey Holt some ways back. Somehow, Velvet and Snyder have gotten into it. Well, Velvet's gotten into a second teammate. First lap, she ran into Jackson Steele, and now she's managed to crash into a different Dodge. They're gonna have to probably have a little talking to with her if she never runs into him again. I think Whitney Velvet's gonna have a bit of a talking to about teamwork, which is gonna continue to run into Mopar Garage teammates. Skip ahead to the end of that lap, and it's pretty calm near the front. Aranto, I think, is technically the faster of the two Ford GTs, but he doesn't feel like putting any undue pressure on the race leader and his senior as far as being a driver upon NFR 4. It seems he's content to have a strong 18th second debut as a Challenger Series competitor, and not unlike a certain other flamboyant pink Dodge Viper driver in the back, remain a competent team player and not cause undue problems for the Ford team, and instead is actually kind of holding off Carson Hawkins at the moment, preventing him from attacking the 299 instead. So we are capable of teamwork around here. And he's taking a defensive line. He's doing everything he can to keep the Tide machine behind. He's not really concerned with overtaking the car ahead. And we're coming up to the white flag in the near future. Yeah, there's not much changing. Dick Trivial is cruising around second in class and the only Mopar Garage driver, I think. No, Samuel Jansen stayed clean. Never mind. Well, he had stayed clean, but it seems Rebecca Johnson is about to make an error. Well, I don't know if I can fully blame her on that. That is a hard hit. Good thing this thing is reinforced, but you can see the gash that just took out of his paint there. I don't know if I can fully blame Rebecca Johnson there, as poor of a job as I did showing it on that replay there. Harvey Holt makes a very late move that just kind of scares the shit out of her. He moves to the left very suddenly at the last minute before turning, or before braking for the turn, and I think that just startled Rebecca Johnson into a braking mistake. We've got a minute and change to go, and I don't think we'll be making it another time around within the next 61 seconds, so this should be the final lap for NFR on the whole. Iris in the lead, Aranto maintaining a respectful distance, and Hawkins trying to make up the time, but he's not having much luck. Isabel is free to cruise to a 715 class win. Dick Trivial will just about be in her mirrors, but not really any threat from here. And Satoshi Rollins will be able to breathe easily and claim the 675 class win, as Colin Morris has not had too much pace, and Harvey Holt has had even less. This is where we'll get to see a little bit of Carson Hawkins' temperament here? Does he go for something aggressive to take second? Or is he the complacent type? He tried to outbrake the Ford, but there's nothing he could have done from that angle, even if he wanted to dive. He was just not properly positioned to, even if that was his goal, and he is super sideways coming out of the boot section, so that will lock it in. Iris Aspinall has controlled this race almost a little bit uncharacteristically so. She'll head out of the last turn, winning this American exhibition here at Watkins Glen. Her teammate and new teammate, Jock Aranto, will come in right behind her at second. Isabel hits the last turn. She is going to win pretty comfortably in the 715 class. And that is the end of the replay, but I mean, we can pretty much see the run to the finish for Satoshi Rawlins. He is going to claim that 675 class win pretty safely with his new teammate, Paul Milner, right behind. So that is the first race of the week. A lot of talking, probably a very long recording. I dread to think what that's going to do for the rest of the episode's runtime. Oh boy. Very foggy and quite damp here at Autopolis, the shortcut course of which is going to host the 525 class for Tuesday's event. Now we are truly back to normality, as this is just a simple lap counter race, although it will be a higher number of laps since the shortcut course is, funnily enough, short, even for this category. As you can see, as we are green from Autopolis, it was a lot wetter when the race began. Excuse me, I still didn't change the audio. Yeah, Yo Watanabe is the POV vehicle, the POV Jimny in this one, and that four-wheel drive traction on that little off-roader is going to be pivotal, I think, in her performance here as she tries to get through the field in the early going. She's probably going to have multiplicatively more traction than anybody else, especially in these conditions. And Yo is somebody who, sure loves the water and is self-proclaimed weather forecast girl, able to tell the weather like the old-fashioned way of like licking your tongue and sticking it in the air kind of thing. I suppose a sailing nerd like her would have some knowledge of stuff like that, so well, if there was ever a time to put that to use, you might as well be sailing the stormy seas with these conditions. We get a view from her own helmet, just to give you an idea of how little the drivers can actually see. Yo also has the advantage of being a little higher off the ground, so the spray coming off of other cars won't hurt her as much as it would somebody like our race. No, actually, Haneka's car is tall as well. But Thrasher, yeah, he's getting all of that spray directly in his line of sight. The rain slightly decreased in intensity towards the end of the race, but it's hardly noticeable, especially not with how much spray was coming off the cars. And I don't think Yo enjoyed Thrasher's racing line through there. You heard a beep of her little dinky Jimny horn. It doesn't stop her from passing, though. And then, well, speaking of beep, Hawk is the only obstacle between her and the lead, and it wasn't much of an obstacle. The traction difference is just so severe. Haneka's is front-wheel drive, so it's not like she's suffering for traction. I also just realized Haneka is sponsored by an oil company in this electric vehicle. I don't know how Honoka drives that thing. I would rather die than drive a car that doesn't make noise. And you can see one of a couple of Yo's evident wet weather driving techniques there. As she went to brake for the first corner, she was not up against the white line in any capacity because there's a puddle out there. And there are also puddles on most of the curbs, and especially the inside curbs, so it is not an advisable, it is ill-advised to hit any curbs, and certainly don't think about braking from high speed on the edge of the track either. Skipping to the end of the lap, I think, it seems like the kind of race that in seasons 2 or 3 we might have called the race early. You know, like Yo is swerving, she's trying to figure out where the track is less wet, and she's found a little bit of extra water. She slides into one, but four-wheel drive will keep her pointed the right way. It seems like the kind of conditions that you would, that probably would have been a canceled event in seasons 2 or 3, but now that the wet weather tires are part of the regulations, we can actually run the race, and since these cars are really slow, there's not a whole lot of safety concerns. Not only are they slow, but since they're mostly built for the average buyer rather than for enthusiasts or anything like speed, they have more safety features as standard. I'm pretty sure Honoka might as well be invincible in this little thing. Can't say that for Thrasher, though. He is, for lack of better terms, he is simply raw-dogging these conditions on the track. Front-engine, rear-wheel drive, little micro car with about as much safety as base jumping without a parachute. There's some chaos going on in the mid-pack, though. While the top 4 are broken away, we've got, no, top 3, excuse me. We do have, looks like Yo's BFF Chica is making her way through the field in the freaking K-Truck. With the motorcycle engine, mind you. But, yeah, she has climbed her way to 4th. She did not start anywhere near the front. Yeah, Chica started this race in 18th, only 2 places ahead of Yo, and she is in 4th, and she's still got time to make her way to the podium if she's quick about it. She's very clearly not afraid of all the water on the track at all. I almost forgot to mention there is a new car in the race. Exactly one. Hanamaru, who's battling with an FJ40, is driving a engine-swapped Fiat Panda. I believe it's a Civic engine in the little Fiat. It doesn't look very stable. It looks very bouncy and not very tightly sprung. So she's exercising a fair bit of driving skill just to keep that thing from tipping over. And if anything, the wet track is helping. She's going to need to work on that setup. It seems to be relatively fast, but it doesn't seem to be very stable, and it seems to not have much rolling resistance. Meanwhile, at the end of lap 5, white flag is in the air, and Chica has indeed caught up to the back of Thrasher and Honoka. She could yet take 2nd place if she's brave enough. I'm gonna dust the cappuccino on front straightaway. Thrasher can put up no resistance to the K-Truck. He tries to get a little funky under the brakes, but Chica holds that off. In the background, Nico and Kotori are fighting for 5th. It's a bit of Mercury Civil War for P5. Speaking of Mercury, well, I think Battle of the Orange-Haired School Idols for 2nd place. And Chica's gonna embarrass the electric vehicle. So we're looking at another Aqua, well, you can't quite lock out the top 4 because there are only 4 in the race. Hanamaru is falling down the order little by little, and Ruby, I think, is in the race. There she is, she's in 12th. Not awful as far as that Prius is concerned. Yeah, so it's a 1-2-10-12 for Aqua. They've still got a little bit of momentum in their corner, clearly coming off of Fuji 2 whole weeks ago. when they did, as I mentioned, block out the top 4 finishing positions in the qualifiers for the Clubman Cup. Yo won that race, and she's going to win this race too. From Autopolis, Chica finishes right behind her, and Honoka rounds out the podium in the Nissan Qashqai. Thrasher, considering the conditions, he does well just to survive in that tiny-ass thing. But Yo is always going to have the advantage, being one of very few all-wheel drive machines in this category. We head to the Circuit de Spa at the, well, very early morning, actually. Not late evening, but early morning. It's about 5:20 in the morning at the Green Flag. So the sun is barely in the sky. There's a little bit of delay logistically. It was supposed to be actually a midnight start, but the sunrise should still look pretty, I suppose. The 715 class is racing here, and we're actually running the 24-hour layout, which really the only difference between the two is, we start here rather than on the actual starting line. I don't really like Eau Rouge and Radeon as the first set of corners, but here we are. We are away from Circuit de Spa, and already in view is one of the debuting cars of the race. Oh boy, that's not a place you want to lose control at. Where is that? Schwartz is still spinning. And he's gonna clamber to get back on the road. What in the world just happened to you? And got nowhere to go with his 4-wheel drive advantage, and just gets turned by Alice Timefield. It's a weird racing incident that happens, but Alice just kinda half commits. It's easy to think Dedrick is clear here, and maybe he should have been. I think Alice probably should have tucked into the line there. Especially since Schwartz just kind of straight-lined it, and Alice just... That gap was going to close. It's Eau Rouge. If you're going to force that, get at least halfway alongside. Don't try to keep a splitter in there and think you're entitled to anything. And around goes the Porsche. Right into the wall. That is major damage done to the 992. And the race carried on without him, as that was not a terminal crash. And the motor kept running. A different Porsche on Team AMT, rather than AG. They're 4 wide for last. Jesus. Billy Stuber is the POV driver. I expect some good things from him here, as this is the home of Team AMT. This is their testing facility and all that. Yes, the team is based in Germany, but has to kind of make a middle ground between its main headquarters and where Kevin Bergstrom kind of takes up pseudo-residence. It's just easier to meet in the middle and do all of the testing at a track like this. And you need some state-of-the-art when one of your biggest competitors, Porsche AG, whom they just kicked to the curb, has the Nürburgring as their basically personal testing site. Up ahead, there's 2 new cars in this race. They are both Corvettes. Lightning Larson has what Logan keeps referring to as the Stealth Vet, an 8th gen Corvette whose paint job is just matte black, and then a white gray number, and the team logo. That is it. And then Carson Hawkins with a sort of hot rod colored C5 Corvette. Not even the C5R kit like most of his teammates had in the Monday race. Oh, no, never mind, there's more. I forgot about the GTRs. So Rico Sakaruchi is the next Aqua member to get a 715 class car. Up to this point, the only ones that had one were Yo and Damari. She has an R35 GTR, inexplicably sponsored by McDonald's. And John Pickens gets a different GTR at the exact same time, sponsored by a completely different eating establishment. Ohio-based chili restaurant, as Logan informed me. But that is all the new cars, and Schwartz has finally made his way to the pit lane, while the leader is halfway down Camel Straight. And Billy is already up into P6, outdragging Aspinall off Eau Rouge, and getting ahead of his former co-worker, Kaiser, as well. They're 3 wide in his mirror, and Kaiser's going for everything and barging Billy out of the way, all but... Yeah, like I said, going for it all, and she is going to get everything on the exit of Lake Home. I don't think Billy is going to take too kindly to that, though. Whatever their past history was, Stephanie definitely did just kind of bonk him out of the way, and that's going to tick anybody off. A huge run out of No Name, but Puhan is not a passing zone for the same people on the grid. Stephanie defended it anyway, assuming that Billy was going to do something stupid. Instead, he'll just own her on the corner exit, and he will finally be back up to 4th for realsies this time. And now he has to pursue the trio of Corvettes. C8, C7, C5. No C6 in the race, though. Isabel has damage. Not from Stephanie, from Rain. These two kind of had a moment last week in the Clubman Cup, so that's interesting. And this dates all the way back to the bus stop at the end of the first lap. This contact happened. Just a little late on the brakes. Bell backed up by Yo, taking the chicane ahead of her. There was nowhere that she could go, nowhere Rain could go. Move ahead to the end of lap 2. Stuber has caught up to the back of Carson Hawkins, making his second Challenge Series appearance. The first new driver of Urban Estate Motorsport to make his second appearance. And he is going to let Billy go at Eau Rouge. I guess we got another driver that is focused on survival. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Skip ahead a few seconds, because Alex, despite the controversial start, is making some good progress up the field. And then I see him like 11th or 12th into contact with Schwartz. He's up to 6th. Although she does have quite a ways to go if she's going to catch up to anyone else. Kaiser's going to look at a move through Puhan, bumps the 771 aside, and that is an aggressive P4 gain for the Porsche driver. Her former co-worker continues to pursue this demonic duo ahead. Mr. Rose not pushing the car. I know the Group 3 should be strong through this section. I almost wonder if she isn't falling back to try and play spoiler to keep her half-teammate Larson at a healthy lead. Oh my god, Billy's pushing that Cayman. Fear is the mind killer, and Billy isn't letting himself feel an inch of it. She's going to embarrass Winter Rose on the exit of the bus stop. She's not going to give him the lane, but eventually she must move over. And Billy moves to second place with just a simply dominant overtake out of the last turn. Yo has Billy run out of steam. She may have won last night at Autopolis, but her Evo 9 is not finding the same kind of speed around here, and that thing is just going to obliterate it in a straight line. She'd been passed by Bernice and Rico on the way to the bus stop. Rico is now the leading Aqua member in this race and is trying to keep Bernice at bay. Meanwhile, Billy Stuber has caught up to the Stealth Corvette as the sun rises in the Ardennes forest. How picturesque. Strong run through Puhan. Not enough though. Might be Larson has to give the space. They're too wide in the S section. Larson's able to use the inside at the entry to hang on for now. Final sector of racing, about 40 seconds between now and the flag. But still a couple of places for Billy to pull off a small miracle. And or just scare the shit out of Lightning Larson and make off with the lead from that. That's a better run through Stavro too. Does he dare go all the way around the outside? He does. But he needs to keep it under him at Blanchimont. Oh boy. Again, no fear. Larson with one more attempt at the bus stop. This is basically how Billy got the move done. Can it be used against him? That's... no, it cannot. I don't know why I said it like that. The photo finish at the line, 9/10 between Billy Stuber and Lightning Larson. But victory goes to the man in the yellow car. Winter remains in P3, although a rapidly approaching Stephanie Kaiser surely would have had something else to say about that if we were doing a 5-lap race today. Carson Hawkins is making a solid name for himself this week. This is a tough field, you know. But he beat a lot of the tougher drivers. It's just that he didn't have the starting grid advantage that Kaiser and Rose did. Larson and Rose did. Billy and Stephanie are very fast. He was able to stay ahead of some other quick drivers like Alice, Bernice, Yumiya, although Yumiya started way at the back and a lot of other contenders got damaged. So, either way, your first week in the Challenge Series, if you can't win everything, be consistent and don't be a pain in the ass. Thursday brings us from a moody sunrise to an equally damp light evening in Germany. It has been a fair bit since we visited the Nürburgring venue in any capacity. Some complications arise with this venue oftentimes, but we got it secured for this week, and the rain doesn't seem to like that, to say the least. This is the 675 class at the GP course. So, you know, one of the more balanced tracks, and one that I actually like. I wish we could get here more frequently than we do. There's the green flag. It's not quite as damp as it was at Autopolis earlier in the week. It was raining a little heavier earlier in the afternoon, but we weren't here earlier in the afternoon, so it doesn't really matter. I put the camera here, so the camera would actually look at the field as we took the green light, but Charlotte Riel in the 97 is the POV car in this round. And there's 2 new cars, I think it's only 2, both belonging to new drivers as well. Diamond Pleiades Technica gets some dramatically needed reinforcements to their numbers. Yeah, remember them? They didn't go away. They just kind of lay dormant for a while. Ever since Aqua became its own team, and they lost Chica and Yo on it. They were only a 3-car team that could only run in 2 categories, so they didn't really do much. But they're now a 5-car team that can still only run in 2 categories, but that's neither here nor there. Kit Taylor in a Subaru Impreza is the first. And Antonia Diamante, the Challenge Series' first Spanish driver since the exit of Marcus Mendez at the end of Season 3. He wasn't terribly active either, so here's hoping that Diamante can be a little more proactive in flying the flag of her flying the flag of her country, not colors. It doesn't make any sense. There's that confidence on the more familiar layout for Riel, passing like 4 cars in a corner that you usually don't even think about in normal conditions, and she clearly didn't think much about it even in these conditions. She's got a fair bit to live up to, though. The rest of her team is currently running 1-2-4. The Kaiser duo, as Stephanie's about to overtake her mother for the race lead, are already breaking away at the front, and Schwartz looks set to try and join them at the front if he can get past the RX-7 of Rain. An appropriate name for somebody who actually hasn't had a whole lot of luck in wet weather in her tenure so far, but she seems to be doing pretty well in it right now, hanging on to third over a driver who's admittedly far more... I wouldn't say he's far more skilled, that's kind of not fair commentary, but a more celebrated, accomplished driver in the series as Dedrick Schwartz, who's been here since day one. I mean like super day one, not just, since the start of the GT7 series, but just since the Challenge Series name was created. As long as I've been commentating on videos for it, Dedrick Schwartz has been there representing Porsches and occasionally TVRs of Volkswagen. One of the original 6, so to speak. Not that you ever saw much of the original 6, because, well, you needed, even the early days of Challenge Series had at least 15 runners, as Riel is going to embarrass Schwartz on the exit of that hairpin, and then get Rain up the Schumacher S's to make it a podium lockout for Porsche AG thus far. Could be a top 4 lockout, a la Aqua at Fuji, if Schwartz can confirm this overtake for himself. Yeah, when the Challenge Series was created, and I wasn't even there yet, there were only 6 drivers on the roster. Gino Turini, Dedrick Schwartz, Shoji Hakure, Hikari Taniguchi, Natsuki Narashi, and Riley Blanchard. And then came others like Wayne Hansen, Thomas O'Reilly, June Summers, Madison Palmer, and then I think me and Thrasher appeared as like the 9th and 10th entrants. As Riel overtakes her teammates in the other 993. Schwartz has a shot, but he's got some very pink pressure from behind in both Len and Isabel, filling his mirrors with their headlights. Late decision to make that move, Rain trying to hold Schwartz off for her teammate Len, who will maintain traction through turn 1 and make up the position. Looks like we're going to have a battle for the lead. Porsche AG's lead driver versus their tertiary mechanic. And probably their 3rd or 4th driver in terms of overall, hierarchy in the team, but hierarchy means nothing on the actual racetrack. It's every man, woman, and Porsche for themselves. And Riel is going to seek her fortune. She's going to embarrass Kaiser up the hill there. Schwartz continues to be in traction, so we're not going to be seeing a top 4 lockout, I don't think, unless something really big changes, or Schwartz finds something basically hidden in him, it seems, at this point. As we take the white flag from the Nürburgring GP circuit, it looks like Kaiser has a really good run from the last turn. She might be clear of her teammate, giving a lot of room out there on the left to the 97 car. Crossover attack. They're going to be door to door, heading through the stadium section after all. Riel can get on the throttle easier with that line. It is literally neck and neck to this slow section. Oh, Stephanie got juked. Riel faked the maneuver at the end of the stadium section, and Kaiser got thrown all the way off, but she has more acceleration. Somehow. I'm not really sure where she found that acceleration, but that's going to get her back to the lead. They're still fighting. They've battled for approximately half a lap. It's going to be more than half a lap by the time the leader is decided for real. Kaiser a little defensive at the hairpin on the south end of the circuit. Riel's had many an overtake at the Schumacher S's thus far. See if she can get another. She's going to try, but Kaiser is going to be wise to it. But she's not going to have any momentum. No, never mind. That was an optical illusion. Still late braking. Send it around the outside. How did you do that? Kaiser sticks her nose down the inside. Riel denies it. Final sector of the track. And the battle's not over. Kaiser showing some of her own bravery through that kink. Sending it down the inside of the chicane. But that's way too much curb. That is not the line you want to take. And Riel has her in the palm of her hand. Another fake dive bomb. All the way in Stephanie Kaiser's head, and it looks like Riel is going to go all the way to victory lane from the Nürburgring GP course. No team orders here. A showstopper between the Porsche AG drivers, and Liza will head out of the final turn to finish the podium for the team. Eventually, rain did fall down the leaderboard. I know, not only to Dedrick Schwartz, but also to Aspinall, so it is a 1-2-3-5 for Porsche AG here on their home soil. Friday takes us to Switzerland. We have spent the vast majority of the week in Europe, which is kind of rare for the Challenger Series. We usually only do 1 or 2 here, and then split the rest of the week between Asia and America, but nope. We only had 1 in America, with the Watkins Glen little exhibition, and the Autopolis race for Japan, and we've stayed in Europe for the rest of it, despite what I said on Wednesday, for some reason thinking we'd raced at Red Bull Ring earlier in the week. No, it was Autopolis. Not sure where your head was, Riker. Probably up your own ass. But the mountains of Eiger Nordland will host the 600 class. You can actually see our POV driver right there. That's a neat shot. Yeah, there's the POV driver. Spoiler alert, it's Natsuki in that 8.6 you just saw parked there in the pit lane. Weird that she's still here. This is a little bit removed from the race day. We are green from Eiger Nordland. The four-wheel drive advantage, as if Isabel wasn't already the pole sitter. Her brand new Ford Escort Cosworth is definitely the leader now. And I believe this marks another week where Isabel Aspinall has started every race this week. No, she did not start on topless. Never mind, she doesn't have a car in that class. I'm sure she would have been there if she had a car. And this is probably exactly why she has the Escort to fill in that space. At 600. Also, Rain and Silica have started most of the events this week. Rare, I think, double duty from Melissa Weiss. We're getting some names that don't show up too often. They're starting to bump their commitment up, but yeah, as mentioned in the intro, Natsuki Narashi in the 8.6 is the POV driver, and this is the kind of track that I imagine perfectly suits her driving style. It's basically a toge run, but uphill. But that 8.6 is a little more upgraded than the one that its livery is meant to evoke the imagery of. So it's not going to suffer up the hill like a certain tofu deliveryman. Oh my god, they're 3 wide. Akira Taniguchi has been mugged. He's going to lose a 3rd spot. He's hitting. He has damage. Okay. Understand. He ran into Brandt, but the cameras didn't ever pick it up. You could not pay me to drive a Charger here. Tyler is a bold man, electing to take to the track today in this thing. And he's been run into by Logan. Oh boy. Great, inter-admin drama. Exactly what I wanted on my Burger King burger. And you saw it on the screen, it wasn't even that big of a contact, it was just the slightly worse brakes on Logan's Corvette and the back bumper of Tyler's Dodge. Not much else to it. Natsuki probably not even aware that that contact did damage to either car, is having to try and fight her way past them anyway. A fellow 8-6s ahead. Natsuki's gonna out-drag one and outbrake the other, and nope, never mind, Weiss took evasive action avoiding contact with Natsuki. You wouldn't think the RAV4 would really care to avoid contact. It's a RAV4, it's way bigger than this little toy car. I imagine Amber Ashard is no stranger to courses like this either. Former rally driver. A race on a hill like this is probably right in her wheelhouse. Celica's taking some line to try and preserve momentum. I guess she's got one of the lightest cars in the series, and so she's trying to use that. That's probably more of a survival tactic, considering how little power that Swift is making, even for this class. As Natsuki's gonna pass two Art of Speed cars in the span of 6 seconds. You've not even crested halfway in the race, only a minute 10 lap times, so we're gonna get a lot of times around the track here. And now Natsuki is rapidly approaching Isabel Aspinall's location. The Suzuka got damage in the background, that's a potential threat, I would argue, eliminated. And Natsuki, despite a little bit of power sliding on exit, is gonna embarrass, never mind, Isabel didn't like that. Embarrass Isabel on exit, and so Isabel will just embarrass Natsuki on the brakes. And Natsuki is now immediately picked up on Celica's technique, and she's trying to use it for herself. Wait, apex these blind hairpins and just help you to get on the throttle quicker. It looks like it might have worked. It, in fact, worked. No, it didn't. Isabel's still gonna outbrake her. Battle down the hill through this little pseudo-S section. Natsuki braves it all the way around the outside. Race lead back to the 68 car. A little too late on the brakes, I might argue there. But not yet made to pay for it. Oh wait, this camera's far away. Isabel not in range to do any braking kerfuffling. Celica is clearly faster than Rain. I don't know why she's not just letting her go. And Thomas is going to creep around the outside of the 8-6 to reach Kurtanik. Gucci, never mind. No, he is not. Just not have the momentum. He's going to try again at the next hairpin. He's got a few more of these, so keep trying it. He's going to have to get the power down. He gets the power down. And he has more of it. So that is a spot for O'Reilly. Now he's going to probably easily overtake the RAV4. That thing does not have power. Weiss gets a little physical with the tiny roadster. Don't really see if that was necessary. I don't think Thomas is particularly... Nope. He could not hold momentum. That threw off his whole line, it looks like. I don't think Thomas is the biggest enjoyer of that. Lead holding stable at the front. We'll just keep following the roadster driver, see if he can dispatch the SUV. I don't think you can even see where he's going behind this thing. Not really. He's having to use peripheral vision just to see where the road ahead is. It seems like such an odd race to end the week on. This seems so pedestrian. But this is about to be the final lap of the episode right here. About 1 minute and 10 seconds left of racing to go. Natsuki sets a blistering lap record there, breaking into the 9s, which nobody else has done. Although Isabel did get quite close. Thomas finally defeats the RAV4 at turn 1. Let's see if he can get up to the Art of Speed duo and or Ashhart, fellow elder of the series. That's too much. That is a drift! Oh my god! Right, she used to do that semi-professionally. That is how you hold a steering wheel, right there. Not everybody in the Challenge Series can do that, I'll tell you that. We get a different angle on the replay, hopefully. That is a 4-wheel drift. That is Gran Turismo 1 style driving right there, and Natsuki didn't even seem phased. That almost looked intentional, but she's not a showman when she doesn't, unless she's literally in a drift competition, so I don't think that it was. Either way, it's just the 4 consecutive hairpins, and a wall tap for that matter, to go. Oh, that's thrown everything off. Isabel down the inside, she's gonna turn. That's the key note. A drift save to keep the lead and keep Isabel from, whether intentionally or not, dumping Natsuki for the win. But the Toyota driver hangs on. Thomas knocks the fast slap out of the park the second he no longer had a RAV4 in his way, and beat Silica to the finish as well. Another view of that final 2 hairpins, I think. So Natsuki, fucks something up there, and that screws up her whole line. She slides on the way out of that hairpin. Isabel just smells blood in the water, and I don't think she wanted to do that because she jammed on the brakes the second contact was made and basically let Natsuki get away, not wanting to take the win by simply giving her the NASCAR maneuver and just dumping her at the exit. Very weird finish, and that wraps things up here for week 161 in the Challenge Series. Next week we have actually another endurance race on the docket. The return of the Grand Valley, now 80 kilometers. Wait, 75, not 80, I'm dumb. It was going to be 80, but we changed it to 75. It used to be 60, so we're getting, 25% more racing next week.